Customer centricity. I see a lot of schemes and models about customer centricity. And in most of the cases, I can say that I'm pretty annoyed by the fact that still companies draw themselves in the center and then they are encircled by the customers. That's not the way to do it. The only way to create real customer centricity is also to draw it that way and to put your customer literally in the middle of a model. And I've tried, and it's only a trial in my book, to create a customer centricity model. And I compare it with throwing a stone in water. The throwing of the stone and the stone that gets into the water is the original species, is the origin of everything. It's the alpha. And that's exactly what every customer interaction should be. It starts with the customer. The customer interacts with you. Now, let's put digital aside and let's focus on your customers and your customer-facing people. The first thing they touch, your customer, and the first wave they create is your people, your customer-facing people. But your customer-facing people, in most of the cases, you kind of force them into processes and procedures. But if the origin is not what you want to do for customers, but what customers want to experience, then that first wave cannot be process-driven. That first wave needs to be driven by something else. And if it's not processes, then what is it? The only thing that you can use in that first wave, guiding your people, is value-driven behavior. Define the values of the company. Think about how are the values of the company perceived, or how do I want them to be perceived by my customer, and train your people in value-driven behavior. Then at least they know what they need to do and what they can and cannot do, but it's not formatted in process and procedures, because that's impossible. Every customer is different, every customer circumstance is different, so you have to write millions of procedures. You cannot. If you put it in value-driven behavior, that's only once that you have to define the values of the company and that people have to understand the values of the company. So that's the first wave. The next wave is the wave of what is my culture? Because if you have a value-driven culture, then, and if you have a customer-centric culture, then it can happen. If you want to put your customer in the center of the universe, but the culture of the company is not changed and is not a customer-centric culture, you make life completely impossible for your people because they have to do something that doesn't fit the culture. And the next wave is the management style, and that's about your KPIs. If you don't adjust the KPIs to what you want your people to do, and if you still have process and procedure-driven KPIs and you want your people to be customer-centric, then you're applying the wrong KPIs to do the right stuff. And then people are not going to do the right stuff, they're going to do the wrong stuff because they are forced by your KPIs. And only then start to think about the products that you're going to offer and the services that you're going to offer and the solutions that you're going to offer. So conclusion is, the closer you are to your customer, the more you have to be fluid. And it's only further away, down, deep down in your organization, then you can become more rigid and become more process and procedure driven. And in between the process and procedure driven part of your company and the fluidity close to your customer, there is your management style and your culture. And that is the business leader, his or her responsibility to be in between what you actually do for a customer and how you act together with the customer.